winding road.
Lennon's partner, Linda's husband, now on his own. The long and winding road of Paul McCartney. I'm Jane Pauley, and this is Time and Again.
The following program is brought to you in living color. Ladies and gentlemen, a good evening to you.
This is Lowell Thomas in New York. The Beatles emerged on the
And go, my fellow Americans! I'm Chet Huntley, your host on...
We have 73 television cameras on Mayday Barrel.
President Nixon is actively...
One small step for man.
Hello and welcome to Time and Again. Live long enough and you sometimes find out how things turn out, for better or worse. The Beatles, for example, who would have guessed when they took the world by storm in the early 60s that the story would end with a bitter breakup, or that any hope of reconciliation would be shattered by murder. But Paul McCartney has always known how to take a sad song and make it better, even performing at the Beatles' old Liverpool haunt, the Cavern Club, for the first time since the early 60s.
Welcome to this house, stop all that yakety yak. Welcome to this house, stop all that yakety yak.
On this episode of Time and Again, Paul McCartney over the years, in his own words, from his days as the cute Beatle to his current status as Sir Paul, talking about his music, his marriage, his partnership with John Lennon. Teaming up with Lennon made the Beatles possible, but to Paul McCartney personally, the most important partner in his life was Linda. They married on March 12, 1969, 8 days before John married Yoko Ono. Paul McCartney had been one of the world's most eligible bachelors.
So, what's it feel like to be married at last? It feels fine, thank you. What are you going to do now? Is it going to change your life much, do you think? I don't know, really. I've never been married before.
You and Linda have been married 28 years?
28 years, man.
In a business and a world where divorce is everywhere.
Unfortunately, yeah.
What's the secret? You're still writing love songs with her in mind.
Yeah, well, I love her. I mean, anyone asks what the secret is, that's the secret. You know, we just fell in love. We were lucky. We had our ups and downs. You know, I don't want it to seem like, you know, rosy-posy. I mean, you know, we argued, and we argue, you know, because you've got to have that. You can't just, you know, male, female, very difficult to live together, you know. It's difficult, as we all know, you know, it's just like not easy. But we've always had a good sense of humor. We've always been quite honest with each other, and we've been lucky. We've spent a lot of time together.
You've had a tough couple of years with her health. Much talked about that she's been battling breast cancer. How's she doing, first of all?
She's doing great. She's doing great, yeah, but it's been very tough. You know, it's not, I mean, it's an understatement to say it's not easy. It's very tough indeed. But you do what you've got to do, and the thing is, you know, if you catch this stuff early enough, I always use this opportunity to say to women
as you should,
watching the show, you know, make sure you get checked, do all the examinations, because, you know, you catch it early, there's a lot they can do these days.
That was July 1997. Despite Paul McCartney's optimism, Linda McCartney would soon lose her fight.
The last time we had the pleasure of spending a little time together was in your recording studio outside London. And I asked you at that time, I said, how's Linda doing? And you said, great, with confidence. Were you putting on a brave front, or did you think she had beaten this disease?
I was putting on a brave front. Yeah, you've got to. Obviously, you know, to right till the last moment, we hoped. But, yeah, I was putting on a brave face. I was very privileged to have 30 years with a very beautiful, strong, unusual, amazingly talented woman. She's a great American. Linda was like a truly great American in many, many ways. I was blessed to know this woman.
Paul and Linda McCartney were devoted to each other from the beginning. Like Yoko Ono, Linda had to endure the scorn of those who blamed her for the breakup of the Beatles. She survived that. She was even a member of Paul's next band, Wings. How did Paul and Linda meet? Here's what they had to say to NBC's Tom Snyder about that in 1979.
I was in London on a photographic assignment down at a club. I went to see Georgie Fame and the Blue Flames, who's a British group, and Paul was down there. Were you not?
And I picked her up.
You picked me up just like that?
Simple as that, Tom.
Very romantic.
Oh, I love coming down to speak, you know. Yeah, there we are. Never look back.
Like many young people meet.
You know, a lot of guys who would have had your success and your fame and your following might wish that sort of thing to go on forever. Yet one day you said, I've had enough of that. I want to, forgive the term, settle down and have a family and be with somebody I like and somebody I love. And you didn't miss all that other thing, or you don't seem to miss it.
Not really, no. I mean, what can you do, Tom?
His hands are tied, Tom.
No, it's true, actually. You know, I think the thing in my case is I've done so much of it. And I've been knocking around the world with the Beatles for a good 10 years there. And when the time came to get married, I'd sown my wild oats, or whatever you say, you know, so I'd had enough. And I was quite ready to just kind of settle down and see what happened. And through the years, we've had kids and stuff, and it's just an education seeing kids grow up. And it's a cabaret, too.
Cut.
Linda, how do you think audiences react to you? I think most of them know by now that you've come a long way very, very quickly as a performer and as a musician. How do you think they feel about that? Do you get any feedback like, hey, she did too much too quickly, or didn't pay her dues, or who does she think she is? Because
where's she coming from?
Where am I coming from, you mean? I never, tell you the truth, felt audiences, you know, rejected me or didn't like me that much. Obviously, even they're getting better now that they feel I've played a bit. Critics didn't like me very much. I don't think they still do. But that's their problem, isn't it, Tom?
Linda and Paul McCartney in 1979, bandmates and soulmates, and 10 years into a marriage that would last nearly 30. Over the years, it became clear music was important to Paul McCartney, but not as important as his family.
Have you surprised yourself a little bit? I mean, in terms of your devotion to family?
Yeah,
I mean,
think, you know, when I was younger, definitely, could have never imagined it, you know. Would have really thought I was just, I don't know, just be a bachelor and a musician or something. It creeps up on you, though, doesn't it? You know, get to an age, though, you suddenly realize you like all that stuff. You can't talk about having babies. You've got to have babies. There's a big difference, you know. Talking about them, imagining it and theorizing is one thing, but actually having them crawling all over you and they're yours, you know, makes a big difference.
has it been at all difficult to find a balance between being a good family man and a good music man?
I don't really think it has, actually. I think, you know, things have got to work out right. You know, you've got to be lucky, find the right woman and stuff, you know.
She's a great woman, very strong woman, very misunderstood, because when she does interviews, tends to tense up, because she's not really a professional person that way. She's not used to being in the public eye. She's used to being behind the camera, which is a lot easier than actually sitting there and explaining, trying to justify living. I'm okay, honest, you know. So whenever she gets in front of a camera, she does tend to be very serious and talk about issues that concern her deeply, which a lot of people like. But some people, I think, take it as a hardness and a sort of coldness, which is the very opposite of how she is, actually. She's a great cook, great mother. She's a good girl.
How do you see yourself primarily, or in what order? You're family man, musician, songwriter. Where in that do you find yourself?
It sounded good. I always put them before music, really, much as I love music. If it's a choice, there's no contest.
Before Linda came along, of course, the most important relationship in Paul McCartney's life was with John Lennon. Later in the program, we'll hear some surprisingly candid reflections from Paul about John. But when we come back, the band that made both of them famous. Paul looks back on life as a Beatle when Time and Again continues.